Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Brett Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Brett Raven, 27-year veteran writer, illustrator, and editor of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And this is Saturday, February 19th, and I have been remiss in my to-be-read pile. So we're trying to get caught up on all my books. This particular episode, we're going to do some crowdfunded books that we're going to review. But people have been asking me just how big is my to-be-read pile. So we're going to do that first. Over here, we have 42 different comics from every publisher you can pretty much think of. There's Image, IDW, DC, all kinds of different things over here. Then we have whole pile of trade paperbacks and hardcovers. We got Kaiju number 8, Ghost in the Shell, Human Algorithm, The Map Maker from Scout, Hope Larson's On My Friends, Saved by a Whisker, which just came out from Dynamite this week, Verse the Broken Half, which came out from, I believe it was from Oni. Another Kind that just came out this week, The Sleepover, which just came out either last week or this week, After the Rain from Abrams Publishing, which is an adaptation of Media Corafor's prose fiction, Rangers of the Divide from Dark Horse, Hyper Escape from Dark Horse, Something is Killing Children Volume 4 from Boom. Let me see what this other one here is. The Silent Invasion, Dark Matter, that's Volume 4. Let's see. Time Before Time from Image, Primordial from Dark Horse by Bruce Sick. The Impure, which is another one from Scout. Crescent City Magic, Volume 1 and 2 by Michael L. Peters. And then a whole bunch of Trekker by Ron Randall. On top of that, on the other side of that pile, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. No, you can't. I'm going to pull it out here. We've got from Stonebot, we've got Mega number 1 and 2, kind of another kaiju book. And I've got the last 3 months of Heavy Metal magazine as well. And that's not my entire to-be-read pile either. That is roughly about maybe 40% of my read pile. So, as you can imagine, I'm quite busy, or I will be. That's what happens when you stop reading for Christmas break and you don't get back to it for about a month and a half. So remember, kids, when you get your books, read them when you get them. Otherwise, you just end up with a library of stuff you haven't read. So anyway, that being said, we did have stuff that I did get read this week. So let's go ahead and talk about those. We'll start with the Baboon, Skull of a King one-shot. $6 from Bowtie Press. Writer, illustrator is Jamie Jones. Kickstarter, self-distributed. I received it on December 21st, 2021. And what it's about, freelance adventurer and all-around good guy, Barton Marlowe Jr., a.k.a. the Baboon, has Been contacted once again by the Briefer Museum of Natural Oddities to find and bring back the fabled gem encrusted skull of the great king blank. They never actually say which king it is in the book. But he's not the only adventurer looking for the ancient artifact. And when an old foe shows his face, Jamie, the baboon's trusty ward, looks to switch teams. But personal problems are quickly shelved as problems go from bad to worse when the king's tomb reveals an ancient curse. How will the masked myth make his way out of this one? What did I think of this? Well, the concept is very nice. Jamie Jones is reading a comic called, or actually Jamie, the character, the ward, the boy, is reading a comic called The Cyclops Barbarian in his room when his uncle Barton calls him down to the hideout because they've been hired to get the skull. When they get to where they have to go to try and find the skull, they run into an adversarial treasure hunter named Russell Masters. The baboon, Barton, has had adventures with Masters before and isn't particularly impressed with him, but Jamie is starstruck because of Masters' similarity to the physical appearance of the Cyclops Barbarian in his comic. The trio together enter the mausoleum and awaken the evil king whose skull is cursed. While the trio defeat the king, mostly via Jamie's quick thinking as the other two are semi-bickering between themselves, they don't realize that even in defeat, the king's curse lives on as it awakens hundreds of skeletal zombies that they will now have to wade their way through to get back to the surface. When they finally make their escape, while Barton wants to hand the skull over to the museum who hired them, Masters claims he wants to return the skull to its homeland. Well, that doesn't exactly ring true either, but we'll hold on to that in a minute. It doesn't ring true to me because wouldn't the mausoleum be located in the king's homeland? So I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. You know, he's a treasure hunter. He wants it for himself, let's face it. Anyway, the ward Jamie talks his uncle into letting Masters keep the skull, and everyone goes their separate ways. The characterizations throughout the book are well done, and Jones's art is emotive and engaging. The only real complaint I have about the book is that there are a number of lettering and spelling errors, and I do wish Jones would hire me or some other editor to review the pages before he goes to print, because it gets a little bit distracting and takes away from the overall quality of his work, which is, a shame because it's, a really good work. The lettering style isn't my favorite either. I don't know if he's lettering by hand or if he's using some sort of computer font lettering, but at times it is hard to read. I recommend it for ages 10 and up, and I give it 3.5 stars. Let's take a look at some of the art. This is where Jamie is reading the Cyclops Barbarian story in his comic, and he's being told to go downstairs to the hideout. And you can automatically see right here, consider is CONSIDER, not CIDER. So, little things like that kind of hurt, a little bit on that. And then here's the Master's character, and Jamie's talking to him and stuff, but and then verily is misspelled over here. He's got verily instead of verily with an I. So, it's VERILY. But, little things like that, like I say, it kind of hurts the quality of the book a little bit. And you kind of want to get that corrected. This is where they fight the Skull King. And again, the artwork's very nice. It's nice color work, nice flowing figure work. There's nothing here wrong with that at all. So I'm not sure if you guys can really tell in the bottom corner. He ducks under the Skull King and then hops up behind him. But pretty cool overall. Our next book is Bigfoot Knows Karate #1, Chapter 1, Hunter Prey. It was $9. Cage Rhino Productions is the publisher. Writers are Dan Price and Casey T. Allen with art by Dan Price. There's variant cover artists Matthew Skillier and Adam Caswell. Kickstarter, self-distributed. It was released in January or February of 2022, I think. I don't remember exactly when I received it because I didn't mark it as received in the Kickstarter file like I should have when I got it. So I've had it probably about a month, but maybe it was shipped a little bit earlier than that. Anyway, what it's about. Bigfoot Knows Karate is a two-fisted slugfist akin to Godzilla versus King Kong mixed with a healthy dose of martial arts and outright carnage in the vein of Kill Bill as the Bigfoot squares off against Kung Fu Cthulhu. That's right, it's martial arts Cthulhu. Add a solid meaty twist at the end and get ready to follow a gentle cryptid warrior as he tries to find his way in a world where anyone can be a hunter and everyone can be the prey. What did I think of this book? It's a weird comic in a good way. It starts off in the woods where the Bigfoot protects a rabbit from a wolf or coyote stalking it. Then he gets shot in the arm by hunters who were supposedly aiming for the rabbit but can't see him because he's like imagination or whatever. He's like between worlds. He's in a different dimension, but he's still adjacent or something. Angered by being shot, he kicks it into martial arts badassery and wipes the hunters out. Then as he meditates, he crosses through planes of existence and is warned to wake up as the Cthulhu enters his plane and attacks. The Bigfoot gets beaten badly, but then he taps into his inner self and grows from a 9-foot-tall Bigfoot into a kaiju-sized 50 to 60-foot-tall Bigfoot and defeats the Kung Fu Cthulhu, only to find a man in a sort of business suit with tentacles who calls him Benny, who, along with his military friends, take the Bigfoot down and out. The man tells the military to clean up and everything and get rid of all the trace evidence of everything that's transpired and collect the Bigfoot and the dead Cthulhu so that no one knows that they're there. I wasn't sure if this was some sort of reality program where Benny the Bigfoot is actually a human who visualizes himself as a Bigfoot in a VR, or if he's an actual Bigfoot because of that kind of twist at the end. It could be read as either or, in my opinion, but it'll be clarified more in the next issue, I'm sure. What you're seeing here is an alternate cover. Anyway, Price's art is fun. It's very digital oriented in the coloring and painting process, which may not appeal to those who are more used to the more traditional superhero-ish art styles. The first cover that you saw before, let me go back. This is Dan Price's art style, and this was the alternate cover. I do wish that there was a little less swearing in the book, but that's just me. I think because I could see this being potentially marketable to younger audiences, but with the foul language and some of the other stuff that's in there that's more adult, you really can't offer it to a 12 and under crowd, which I think is a shame because the art style is such that it could be very appealing to a younger audience. I recommend it for ages 14 and up, and I give it 3 out of 5 stars. And this is after he killed the wolf and saved the bunny rabbit. And that's where he gets shot by the hunter who is supposedly aiming for the rabbit. And, yes, he is bent down over the rabbit, but how do you miss that far above, and of course, the other hunter's like, get you in a fucking rabbit. But, anyway, like there's a lot of language there and stuff that I wish it was kind of not there, but it is what it is. Now, as you can see, he is right there on top of the hunters, and you can see him, but he kind of blends in with the background because he's like shifting from his plane of existence into the one where the hunters are. And then he just starts clobbering them with his martial arts. And then he is told to wake up from his meditation, and there's a giant Cthulhu, Kung Fu Thulu, coming out of the pond or lake. And it's kind of cute. Our next book is Grimm Space number 1. It was $10. Publisher is Frank Martin. Writer is Frank Martin with art by Dan Scalisi, with alternate covers by Relly Akbar and Priya Pillai. The cover logo design is by Dave Lentz. Genre is science fiction. It was Kickstarter self-published. I received it on December 8th of 2021. What it's about. As a mechanic aboard the galactic courier ship, the Beanstalk, Jack has a hard time letting go of robots, even the broken ones. So when a P1 Nokia model won't stop thinking that it's a real person, Jack is ordered to sell it at a space station bazaar. But he doesn't, though. Instead, he trades it for a mysterious navigation unit with star charts to deep unknown space. Jack hopes that the nav unit will bring him an opportunity, but the crew of the Beanstalk are about to find trouble of gigantic proportions. I think you can kind of tell what the source material is here. He's taking classic children's mythology and literature and retelling them as modern science fiction stories. Not the most original concept. In fact, there's a prose fiction Grimm Space by Naomi Muse from 2018 and 2 other comic series called Grimm Space from 2013 and 2016, respectively, that are doing the same shtick, but none of which have any connection to one another and are totally different execution, other than they're all playing off the idea of the Brothers Grimm fairy tales as modern science fiction. This having been said, Martin does a respectable job of retooling the Jack and the Beanstalk story, and as the Magic Beans are an alien navigation computer that leads them to a giant alien ship. Jack boards the ship and steals a golden egg, and then flies pardon me. He flees with the giant alien hot on his heels. There is a cliffhanger ending, and it's kind of fun. The egg, they get away with the thing. They're planning on selling this egg that they think is pure gold, and it starts to crack open at the very end of the thing, but they don't show you what it comes out of it, so I presume that'll be in number 2. Scalisi's art is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's black and white, so that might be something of note to you that you may or may not want. If you're not a person who likes black and white, you might want to pass. There are a few pages that were hard for me to figure out what was going on. But overall, it's a decent enough book. It just wasn't on the same level of quality as Martin's Polar Paradox story that I got last year. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but not too bad. I recommend it for ages 12 and up, and I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Let's take a quick look at the art. This is where the P1 Nokia robot is going crazy, and the crew is like, get rid of it. And this is the field of golden eggs, so to speak, and he takes one because that's all he can really grab. And of course, the giant with the 4 arms and everything wakes up and is going to start chasing him as he tries to flee and get to the escape hatch to his own ship. Whoops, sorry guys. Okay, our last book of the day is Heavy number 1. Publisher is PerkInk Productions. That's writer-artist Ben Perkins. Genre is science fiction, released December 2021. It was Kickstarter self-distributed, and what it's about. Heavy is an equine humanoid protagonist who sees himself thrust into a great responsibility, one that may threaten to expose his secret and shameful past. The story is set in a futuristic world where he must navigate the wastelands to either accept or deny this responsibility. As the world has changed after the Zenith event, creating monstrous denizens and alien beings that populate the scarred Earth, a world that he inadvertently caused to exist. This is a really nice product. It's printed at an odd size of 6 inches tall by 9 inches wide, but Perkins does a really nice job of formatting the book. He apparently had other people complain about the lettering being too small and difficult to read. He jokingly told me that I would need a magnifying glass. And for the most part, fortunately, this was not the case. There were a few pages where I did use my magnifier, mostly because my eyes are just tired more than anything else. But one thing I did notice is that my copy had a double cover. What that means is the cover was stapled on one over another. So I have a double covered book. And this is usually a printer error when this happens, so I wonder how many copies were shipped out that way. It usually makes a pretty cool variant in its own right when you have those. It's not very often that you get them. The story is well executed. I like Perkins' art, especially his color palette. I can very easily see this story being printed in heavy metal as a feature story, had he wanted to go that route, and they were willing to work with him. It has a very Richard Corbin and Mobius feel to it, while still being his own style. He has very strong design skills. The characters are very engaging visually, and I really think his world building and the way he draws scenery and vehicles and all kinds of other stuff that tune to the background is very well done. If he remains consistent at the same level of quality in future issues, I think the book will become a cult classic. Recommended for ages 14 and up, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And here's some of that artwork. And what's going on here is a human is taking the last princess of another tribe away from bounty hunters because somebody wants to get all the human children and experiment on them. And this person finds our hero, if you will, after he escapes the party. And it's kind of interesting that how they go about it. Again, it's very interesting. Multiple arms and okay. And that is pretty much all the cool stuff for this week on this episode. Again, I got so much stuff to get caught up on. So starting Tuesday, I'm going to try and get back into the swing of things and get at least 1 episode a day, maybe 2 episodes a day until we get caught up on some of this stuff. Because every week I get more stuff in from the comic shops and from stuff I've ordered. And believe it or not, even though I have all that stuff, I've got literally just lists and lists and lists, front and back pages of trades that I ordered last year that Diamond never shipped to stores. So we're just trying to find out where everything is and get those in as well. So It's nuts. Okay, folks. Again, Tuesdays when I'll probably be back next time. So have a good weekend. And if I can get this thing to start, there we go. If you liked this video, or you think others might, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. You can find me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, a request for artwork, perhaps, Quoth the Raven LBR72@gmail.com is the address to send to me. And if I don't get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, try again at LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. That's my backup email. That's all for now, folks. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.